So now we'll go into the components of a showmanship presentation. And basically the components of a presentation are just like any other speech or paper where you have an introduction, a body, and a final conclusion. For the introduction, you'll have the breed, which will explain what the breed is and any other characteristics, and also a short, brief history of that breed. The body of the presentation will consist of explanations of the head, the neck, the back, the wings, the tail, the breast, legs, and vent. And finally, you end with a conclusion. Well, you'll talk about other areas of interest within that breed or with the bird, or also talk about anything that you've missed within your presentation. So first of all, it's good to know some fundamental parts about the chicken. A lot of these parts you also need to explain in your presentation as well. So now let's break down the components a little bit. We'll start with the introduction. With the introduction, you always want to state your name, your 4-H club, and your age. You also need to want to talk about the breed that is being shown. Talk about the history of the breed. And normally all this history and all the breed components can be found in the American Standard Perfection for Poultry. Next, you want to talk about the body of the showmanship. First of all, you want to start from the head and work your way down to the back, the wings, the tail, the legs, and finally the vent. But for here, we'll talk about the head first. With the head, you want to talk about the skull, the beak, the types of combs that are seen along many breeds of chickens, wattles, earlobes, and the eyes. And then you also want to talk about any disqualifications or defects that might be seen in that breed, or general defects and disqualifications within chickens. All right, now let's look at the specific parts of the head, which you'll talk about in the beginning part of your showmanship. All right, first of all, you want to talk about the skull, and you want to note either the narrowness or the broadness of the skull. In many breeds, they should have a broad skull, whereas if they have too narrow of a skull, this can actually be a huge disqualification, which is called a crow head. Next, you want to look at the beak and note that it's well strong and well curved. You also want to explain the color. In this case, hers is a whitish color, which it should be yellow, which should be a slight defect. You also want to note any disqualifications, like a crooked beak. Next, you want to talk about the comb. There are many different types of combs. In this case, hers is a single comb. And these little things on the top of her comb are called the points, which you want to note and count. So in this case, she has 1, 2, 3, 4 points. You also want to note the blade, which is the extension of the back part of the comb, and also the base, which meets the head. Some disqualifications with the comb are side sprigs or split comb, which you also want to note. There are also many different types of combs that can be observed in chicken breeds. Some of the more common ones are single comb, rose comb, V-shaped comb, strawberry comb, cushion, buttercup, and pea comb. Again, in this case, this bird has a single comb. Also, when you're talking about the head, you also want to talk about the wattles. You want to note that the wattles are these small, fleshy parts underneath the beak. You want to note that they're well rounded and the proper color, which is red. Also, you want to note any wrinkles or folds that may be present, which would be slight defects. Another portion of the head is the earlobes, which is these small little colored things right here. And you want to note their color and any wrinkles or folds also. And finally, you want to talk about the eyes. The eyes need to be alert and open and free from any discharge.